Good morning everybody, welcome to day 5 of our series in the Gospel of Mark. You get to see me twice a week, how lucky are you? It's me again. I'm here with my Bible and we're just going to read a small chunk today from the Gospel of Mark, chapter 1. We're still in chapter 1. It's a fairly long chapter if you're not used to the Bible. 45 verses is quite long, so we're going to be reading Mark Mark chapter 1 into next week. Because it's quite a long chapter. Yeah, fun fact, I'm going to Legoland literally as soon as I finish this, which is pretty fun for me. Not so fun for you, but fun for me. So we're reading Mark chapter 1 verses 29 to 34. So not a very big chunk in my Bible, let's see if I can show you. It is this little section here, which is headed Jesus Heals Many. And it kind of does what it says on the tin. So let's see what it says. As soon as they left the synagogue, they went with James and John to the home of Simon and Andrew. Simon's mother-in-law was in bed with a fever, and they immediately told Jesus about her. So he went to her, took her hand, and helped her up. The fever left her. She began to wait on them. That evening, after sunset, the people brought to Jesus all who were ill and demon-possessed. The whole town gathered at the door, and Jesus healed many who had various diseases. He also drove out many demons, but he would not let the demons speak because they knew who he was. Now, annoyingly, I can't find the person who I wanted to quote today, but somebody once said that although they didn't believe that the Bible was true, like I believe it's true, they said that the Gospels, which is Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, the bit that talks about Jesus, are the best literary writing that they'd ever read. Now, I'm an English person, not as in, I'm not an English person, don't panic, I'm from Wales. I sound like an English person. But I'm in terms of my subjects in school, you know, everyone has their subject. English was my subject. Like, I loved looking at poetry in particular and breaking down the different structures in the poems and working out what the poet was saying through the structure and blah, blah, blah. All of that stuff is really interesting to me. And Mark's Gospel is a bit like that. It really interests me in terms of its literary structure and literary content. So if you're someone like that, yay. And if you're not, just bear with me a little bit because I do think it's really interesting. And I think it's interesting to look at these books for what they are, for the pieces of writing that they are, as well as the truth that they tell. So one thing you'll notice, which you might have noticed, I know Wayne mentioned it yesterday about Mark saying immediately. Well, I don't know if you noticed, but it happened twice in this very short passage. At the beginning it said as soon as, and then later on it said immediately. And all the way through Mark's Gospel you'll see words like immediately, as soon as, just then. Because Mark has this sense of urgency in his writing because he's desperate to get to the main point. He's desperate to tell you about the main mission of Jesus, which, you know, is on the cross. Spoiler, we'll find that. And you see that a lot through the book, and I find that really interesting when you see it and you're like, oh, he's like speeding us up. He's like, come on, we got to get to the main bit, the really exciting bit. And the other thing that you'll notice is at the end when he talks about demons, which we might talk about in a minute, he says, but he would not let the demons speak because they knew who he was. Now, there's lots of theories as to why Mark wrote that and why Jesus might have not let the demons speak. But the one I really like is this idea, they call it the messianic secret, which basically means that throughout the Gospel of Mark, Mark doesn't identify Jesus' true mission until Jesus is on the cross. So it links in with that urgency. He's really trying to like rush people along to get to the main point, but he's doing it without saying, by the way, he's going to be the person who saves you all by dying on a cross. He like wants to keep his identity a little bit secret. And some people think that Jesus himself did that when he was alive, that he deliberately didn't let demons say who he was because demons are in the spiritual realm along with the angels, along with God, where Jesus came from. But some people think that it's just something that Mark uses in his writing, and I can't decide really. I don't know whether Jesus did that. I don't even really know if Mark did it, but it's really interesting to read. You know, sometimes if you did an English A level, you'd read the poem and you'd think, really, did the poet really mean all that? You know, I can't be sure that Mark meant that, but I find it really interesting nonetheless. Anyway, down to the nuts and bolts of what's in there. We're talking about healing, we're talking about demon possession, talking about a woman with a fever, Now, I'm not really going to go into whether or not I believe demons are real. I do. But I don't really want to bash out what a demon is or how that looks in our life. But what I want to see is who Jesus is in this passage. And Jesus is someone who wants to help. You know, they brought loads of people to Jesus and he healed them all. And he cared about the mother of the person whose house he was in. You know, she had a fever. Fevers for us, not so serious. Back in Jesus' time, may have been serious, but may not have been. But Jesus still cared. Like, he still knew that woman was in pain and was unwell, and he wanted to make her better. And that's the same desire Jesus has for us, for you, for anyone who's watching this, for anyone you know who's unwell, who's unhappy, who's struggling. Jesus' desire is for everyone to be happy and healthy. His desire is to heal people, to free them of demons, whether you really believe that there are demons attacking you, whether you mean like a demon in your head, like one of those thoughts. Like, Jesus' desire is to free you from that. And that's a great privilege and a great hope. So I would cling to that today. You know, by all means get excited by the literary content of Mark like me, because I think it's really interesting. But also cling to the fact that Jesus wants you to be free. He wants you to live a life without pain. He wants you to live a life without demons in your mind or demons that are affecting you. That's what he wants for you. And you can claim that for yourself if you want to. Anyway, check back tomorrow where you get your second helping of Nick for your Saturday mornings.